Ask aois21 on the 21st. Welcome to the June 2015 edition of Ask aois21 on the 21st. See, my mic level is good. Last month we had a technical difficulty, and there we go. The sound wasn't coming at first. Now, for this time, it's the first time ever we are simulcasting, doing it both here on YouTube, but also doing it on Periscope. So thank you to any viewers that are joining us on Periscope. If you have any questions about writing, publishing, marketing, anything to deal with books, just send them along. I am, as always, Keith F. Shovlin. I'm the publisher and chief creative of aois21 Publishing, based out of Mount Vernon, Virginia. We're an e-publishing company, but we're aimed at helping self-publishers get their books in the market. Hi, how you doing? So thank you to those that are already joining. We already got people coming on Periscope. So if you have any questions, if you're a writer, prospective writer, or if you've written and you're looking to self-publish or just even find a publisher to work with, feel free to send them along. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm good. How are you? It's June 21st, and of course we try to do this on the 21st every month, aois21 at 9 o'clock or 2100 hours military time. It's also the first day of summer, and it's also this time it is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I already saw my dad this morning, wished him a happy Father's Day, and I have two little girls, and they gave me their Father's Day gift to me at dinner time tonight. So it's always nice. So I wanted to start out with talking with tonight. Of course, I'm wearing my T-shirt that I got at the Gaithersburg Book Festival in Gaithersburg, Maryland last month, which is a great time. Saw a lot of people came by our booth and talked to people about helping them, reaching out to new authors, finding people that were interested in reading. We also talked to some prospective editors, to designers. In fact, we have now, since then, we've added a new designer to our design team here at aois21, Rhonda Lee Gaynor, who came by our table at the Gaithersburg Book Fair, signed on as well as our designers. And I believe we're about to sign a new editor who had stopped by our table also, as well as a new author. So if you're interested in finding out more, you can check us out, aois21.com, aois21.com, and we'll have a lot of updates on that. Now, as far as advice for would-be writers, self-publishers, book marketers, and such. This topic I'm going to start out with is now, since it's getting into summer, there's going to be less and less book fairs, because typically book fairs in the heat is not a good idea, because typically you go to a book fair, you want to be standing and talking to people, looking, going to sessions where people are talking about their books. It's not something that works out well when it gets really, really hot. And down here in the DC area, we've been averaging the high 80s for the past month or so. So I can only imagine how bad it's going to be once we really get into June and July. So now all of the spring book fairs have come to a close. The last one being, there was a last Saturday, the 13th of June, there was a book swap in Columbia, Maryland that we were at, supporting one of our authors, Dr. Deepan Chatterjee. And that was mainly just a chance for people to come out and bring their, clean out their libraries of books they didn't want anymore. But we had Dr. Chatterjee there as a local author, signing copies of his book, The First Prophetical. So now in the summertime, now if you want to do any type of promotion, since book fairs are kind of off the table until fall, now's the time to really try to hit bookstores. Because like during the fall and spring months, that's good times to hit college campuses, schools, any of the book fairs coming up, and also different organizations that might host events featuring authors. Summertime is the best time to hit bookstores, because frankly, they're the only ones that are to have people around that would be willing to take you on. Maybe libraries as well, but Most libraries see more visits during the school year because of people coming in to do research for classes. The summertime, even though there are people who do take school year round, I know I took quite a few summer classes in my time. Uh, Not as many people are going to libraries, not as many people are on campus. So now's the time that you really want to try going to hit more bookstores, trying to be able to get out there to promote your book, or if you're a prospective author, go to your local bookstores and find out what authors may be coming by to give talks, doing signings, and things like that. So now, when approaching bookstores, the key thing is to always understand that they have to they're looking for an event that will bring people into their store. If you're going to them hoping that they will supply the audience, it's not going to work. You have to expect that they're going to want you to bring an audience with you, not only like friends and family, but also that your book will be enough of a draw to get people to come in. So that's something that bookstores have to think of. I mean, they're trying to make money off of their sales. And if they're taking you on and you're a self-published author or an independent author, they have to see the real pull bringing you in. So always the focus is, if you're a local author, then hopefully you'll have a local audience that will come in to hear you talk, buy your book, or if they're really lucky, they'll come in to see you talk, buy your book, but also buy other books or shop around the store, or at least come to the store, like it, and decide to come back later. Realize on the people watching on Periscope, I started it as preparing for a monthly webcast, and of course, the webcast is now up and running. So here, all right. So for Periscope, I'm going to stop, and we're going to start again under a new title. Okay. So for the people watching now, we'll be back. Okay. So just bear with me, those watching on YouTube. We're just going to start again. Podcast on writing, publishing, and marketing of books. Boom. Okay. Now we're back on. Now we're under the new title, webcast on the writing, publishing, and marketing of books. And I see we do have an audience member. Welcome. Feel free to send your questions along if you have any. Now, the key to when you go to work with a bookstore, and it's the first thing you got to understand, they are in the business of making money. So you may not, and if you're coming in as a self-published author, or someone who did the printing themselves, or worked with Lulu.com or CreateSpace or any one of the online sites, you have to keep your book at a similar price to what you sell it for online. Otherwise, you charge more, then people are gonna they'll look you up on Amazon, and they'll see that you're charging more than on Amazon, and they'll just buy your book on Amazon. Never mind the fact that they could get a signed copy right there from you. So you have to keep it competitively priced, and unfortunately that may mean you may get less money from the bookstore than the cost you pay to get the copy of the book. It's an unfortunate fact. Typically, bookstores usually do about a 50-50 split. 50% of the money they take in for the purchase of your book goes back to you, the author. But some bookstores are a little bit nicer with that. There's a bookstore I work with in Leesburg, Virginia, called Books and Other Found Things, where they do more of a 70-30 split. They take 30%, you get 70 back. So just understand, when you go to these smaller bookstores, They need to get a maximum amount of profit on all their book sales in order to keep going. So when you're going out there and having your events, selling the books are great, but you're not there to make a ton of money on selling your books, and most likely you'll make a loss. The goal there, though, is outreach and growing your name, because hopefully you'll have a couple people show up to your event and buy your book. Then they'll take them home and they'll read it, or they'll show it to somebody else, or they'll give it to somebody who might like your book, and they'll read it and they'll share it, or they'll review it. Hope Hopefully all of the above, but if at least they just review it, then that hopefully can result in later sales, because people will be able to see that review, will be able to see what others are saying about your book, and hopefully that'll lead to more sales in the long run. So checking real quick. Nothing on Twitter. And on Facebook. Nothing there. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them along. Let's see. Yep, nothing else on Facebook. All right. Just a reminder, send in your questions. I'm here to answer. So anything you might want to ask, feel free to send it along. For those watching on Periscope, hi, I'm Keith. How you doing? Thanks for watching. This is new, trying this out. Usually we do just on YouTube, but we're always trying to embrace new technology in any way possible. So Periscope is something new. Oh, no, another person watching. Welcome. Good to see you. Feel free to any questions you have about writing, publishing, marketing, editing, basically anything that has to do with a book, send your question along and I'll do my best to answer it. Now back to talking about working with bookstores. Now, of course, way I was talking before, I was focusing on local bookstores, and those are the ones you really do want to try to target, because the larger ones, the Books A Million or Barnes and Noble, they're not too big on working with local authors most of the time. They're more wanting to bring in bigger named authors from, nearby areas or people on national tours. It's they The key to them is partially also that they want to already have your book in stock. They don't want someone coming in that has 20 copies of their book and saying that they want to do an event. They want to be able to say, okay, who's your publisher, or are you on Ingram or any of the other distribution networks, so they can order the copies of your book and have them ready. And of course, they want to be able to promote it enough and know that if they order 100 copies of your book, that at least 75 people are going to show up and buy those copies. So it's really something you got to watch for when working with those the bigger bookstores. It's both a good and a bad thing. I mean, obviously you'd want to be in the bigger bookstores, but that's not always going to happen. They have, even though they're huge, they have a limited amount of limited amount of shelf space. Last time I went into a Barnes and Noble, I was surprised how many shelves were taken up with toys and games. It seems that they're finding that they need to really broaden their market to have people come in. I imagine parents looking at books, and while the kids are distracted by the toys or game boards or the other stuff that's usually in the children's section. So finding an appeal within bookstores is difficult. And I know from my personal efforts, it's getting more and more difficult to work with local bookstores purely because there's not as many of them as there used to be. Here in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., I did a book tour back in 2012 I went to 6 bookstores in the immediate D.C. area. Of those 6, 4 no longer exist. There was a chain with 3 stores in the Maryland suburbs that all just are gone suddenly. And in fact, in the middle of my tour, they emailed me to say that one of the stores had closed, so we can't do that day. And then emailed me back a day later and said, "Oh, never mind, it's still open." Welcome to the new person watching. How you doing? So with local bookstores, you really take a chance there that uh, you want to. I mean, you're hoping that they have a strong base and that they have a strong audience of people coming in. And you also want to stay local because you want to be able to bring family and friends along. My best attended book signing during that tour, the bookstore was just one of those little kiosks in a mall. Not even the ones with cabinets. It was just the little one with just shelves. And I had uh, a cousin I hadn't seen in years show up and bring his family, and a couple friends stop by. And I don't know what it was. So I guess the person that worked there was really active in helping, and that's the one I had the best reaction to, best sales and everything. It also, unfortunately, was the last stop on my book tour. So, but that's part of, as you're going through a tour, you're trying to find the right pitch to reach out to readers. So, as you're going through the tour, the pitch may change. You want to try to work it all out beforehand, but until you're actually in public, until you're actually working with people, it's really hard to understand what slogans or what you can say to get someone interested in buying and reading your book. So you have to look at it as, and you've already put a lot of time and effort into writing the book. Unfortunately, that is practically the easy part, as I can tell you from being a publisher now. I have 10 authors signed to aois21, and each one has brought a different approach, a different type of different book, different style. We have poets. We have a person who wrote political thriller. We have a person that wrote a book on her sex life and dating. It's all, and even a person who wrote a children's book. It's all different angles, all different approaches, and trying to find a way to really appeal to an audience is difficult. And I've had excellent times talking to people about my books or the books of my authors, only to have them walk away, not buy anything, not even take my card or a pamphlet or a list of books or anything. They have no problem coming and talking and taking my time, but then walk away without even taking my information to hopefully buy something later online. So let's see. No questions in on YouTube. No questions on Twitter. For those of you watching Periscope, do you have anything you want to ask? Let's see, it's 9:19, so this is only going for another 11 minutes. And no questions on Twitter. Back to Facebook again. You can either ask questions directly, you can ask questions through the chat dialogue on YouTube, or you can tweet to us at aois21 or with the hashtag AskAois21. This is our monthly webcast, this time simulcast on Periscope. All right, and yep, nothing in. Okay. For those of you joining me late, of course, Periscope saves the full video, so you can go back and watch it from the beginning later on, or you could also visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/aois21pub, and this whole episode will be posted online, the full 30 minutes for you to be able to watch at your own convenience. Watch all of it, watch none of it, watch part of it. It's fine with me. And okay. Yep, no questions there either. So for those watching on Periscope, who's been to a bookstore, small local bookstore lately? Not Barnes and Noble, not Books a Million. Anyone? Well, I'll take that as no one's been to a local bookstore lately, which is too bad. There's a lot of good things happening at local bookstores because of the fact they're local, they're gonna have a lot of things going on, a lot of events and things. We've worked with a bookstore in a newer bookstore in Washington, D.C. called Upshur Street Books in the Petworth neighborhood in D.C. And they have had so many great events going on over the past basically 3 months. It's just been solid events, 3 or 4 a week. Last week was fantastic. They had since June 16th is Bloomsday, the day the events of James Joyce Ulysses take place. They had for solid 48 hours from the 15th to the 17th, a person coming up an hour at a time and reading from Ulysses, and they read the whole book from beginning to end in 48 hours. That is quite a feat, and I unfortunately I wasn't able to stop by for any of that, but I imagine that from all the pictures, everything I saw online, it looked like it went extremely well. And but those are the kind of things that local bookstores are able to do. They can bring in authors or other bookstore owners or you know creative writing teachers and things like that to try to read from a classic like that. All right, it's 9:23, so 7 more minutes. Um, Now, of course, in DC, we're fortunate to have one of the most well-known independent bookstores in the country, and that's Politics and Prose. It's on Connecticut Avenue up, what do you call that neighborhood? It's north of Van Dorn, not too far from Tenleytown. I'm not sure exactly what you call that neighborhood, but it's just south of Friendship Heights. But that bookstore is simply amazing. The events that they have and the things they're able to do, and they're able to have on and have in some of the top political people in DC coming to promote their books. I mean, it would be fantastic to be able to work with them at some point, but we're not quite there. So for now, we're working with the smaller local independent bookstores, ones like Books and Other Found Things in Leesburg, Upshur Street Books in Petworth. There are a couple smaller bookstores, One More Page Books in Falls Church, Hole in the Wall Books also in Falls Church. Just trying to reach out wherever we can. Okay, down to the final 5 minutes. So thank you for those who are watching, either watching live on Periscope, live on YouTube, Google Plus, whatever you call that, and for those watching later, either in the recorded video on Periscope or on YouTube. We are aois21 Publishing, an e-publishing company based in the cloud, but our physical presence is in Mount Vernon, Virginia. Our main focus has been helping self-publishers get into the ebook market and also working with new authors. We've been in operation just over a year now, and we have 10 signed authors and currently 13 books available. We're hoping in the next few weeks to be able to announce that we'll have a couple more authors signing with us and trying to diversify our catalog. Also, we are looking at having a lot of events coming up, reaching out to some more of the local bookstores. As far as book fairs, this fall we're looking to be take part in the DC Author Fest in October, at the Fairfax Fall for the Book Festival in September. There's the Western Maryland Independent Lit Festival also in October in Frostburg, Maryland. We might be taking part in, and there's a lot of good opportunities that we're going to be out there. Every month I'm on here to answer questions the 21st of the month at 9 p.m. But also we have our podcast series. There's the Publish Me podcast I host along with author Paul Dickinson Russell. As we're working through the process of him writing and releasing his first book, the fantasy epic, The Will of the Magi. Those are 30-minute podcast episodes. It comes out on the 7th of each month. This past month, it featured Paul talking about the setting of his book, The Will of the Magi. So check that out. We have about 6 episodes under our belt now. So you have a little bit of backlog you can catch up on. Find out about Paul's wonderful story. Our other podcast series is called Passion on the Page. It's a poetry podcast. We put it out every 21 days, and we go through rotation. Either the poet, our aois21 creative poets, Philip J. Sipkov, Sheila Bowler, Bianca Palmisano, and Deepan Chatterjee. But we also have guest poets submit their work, as well as we have some of our other creatives read poetry that inspire them. Our most recent episode that came out on the 25th featured poet Philip J. Sipkov reading a poem called The Order Came from his book of poetry, Early Thoughts of a Young Man. Next up will be one coming out on July 6th, featuring poet Sheila Bowler reading her poem, A Satisfied Black Woman. Now, that poem was featured in her book, What This Black Woman Knows, but it also was the inspiration for a novel by Sheila's friend and fellow aois21 creative Shayla Morris, the novel A Satisfied Black Woman, now available as an ebook from aois21. Other events coming up, we have on the 14th of every month, we release the next episode in our YouTube video series, Creative Speaking, where we interview our creatives and ask them a series of questions, and then we break up each question into a 2 to 3 minute YouTube clip. So this past month, the 14th of this month, we featured the first video of Dr. Deepan Chatterjee. We're planning for the July one to come out to feature author Philip J. Sipkov, because he, in addition to his book of poetry, his second book he did was a historical biography. He's got a third book coming out in July called The Magnus and the Maiden, a fantasy novella. So check that out as it comes out in mid-July, and he'll be featured on the Creative Speaking web series for, I believe this will be his 4th time, but he'll be talking all about his new book, The Magnus and the Maiden, which has been a 20-year process from idea to writing to now publishing. So, okay, it is 9:29. The seconds are counting down. So this is it, your last chance. Of course, you can email me anytime at pub@aois21.com. Also, find us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Periscope now, Pinterest, basically every social media site we have some sort of presence on. Or, of course, you can find our home on the web, aois21.com. We got a brand new site through Squarespace. It's beautiful. Come on by, check out what we have to offer, send us questions, inquire about submissions, and also look in on as we prepare to release the next edition of our literary magazine, the aois21 Annual. this fall. We're currently running a Kickstarter campaign to help fund the printing and editing costs of the annual. So check us out. Check that out, kickstarter.com, search for aois21, and help us out. Well, thank you very much for those that are watching, either YouTube or those that joined us on Periscope, even those that only joined for a few seconds. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great month. Happy summer. Happy Father's Day. See you in July.